The great hall of the Galaxy Council was quiet. Too quiet. Ambassador Zethkree looked at the empty chairs where the humans should be sitting. His blue skin turned a darker shade as worry filled his mind. 3 days had passed since the humans stopped coming to meetings. 3 whole days of silence. The Galaxy Council ruled over thousands of worlds and millions of star systems. Every important species had a seat at the big round table. The Altarians with their tall, thin bodies and wise eyes. The Hegemony with their thick armor and strong voices. The Zephyrians who looked like walking trees but were very smart. And many others. But the human chairs were empty. It all started 2 weeks ago. The Council had voted on something they thought was simple. They wanted to stop humans from expanding into new areas of space called the Outer Rim. The older species were worried. Humans moved too fast. They built too much. They asked too many questions and learned too quickly. Humans are dangerous, said Chancellor Morden during that meeting. His voice was deep and commanding. He had been leading the Council for over 200 years. They grow stronger every day. We must control their expansion before they become a threat. The vote was clear. 47 species voted yes. Only 23 voted no. Those 23 were mostly young species or ones that traded a lot with humans. The humans listened to the vote results without saying much. Their leader, Ambassador Sarah Chen, just nodded her head. "We understand your decision," she had said in her calm voice. "We will discuss this with Earth and respond soon." But they never responded. They just stopped coming. At first, the Council thought humans were just angry. Many species had gotten upset with Council decisions before. They would shout and argue and make threats. Then they would calm down and come back to the table. This was normal. But humans did something different. They said nothing at all. The Council's communication center tried to contact Earth every day. They sent messages to human colonies. They called human trade ships nothing. Every human communication channel went silent. It was like humans had just disappeared from the galaxy. "This is very strange," said Dr. Velthar, the Council's expert on different species. She had studied humans for 50 years. Her tentacles moved nervously as she spoke. "In all my research, I have never seen humans behave this way. They usually argue. They usually fight back with words. This silence is not normal for them." Admiral Kesavara was more worried about military matters. She controlled the galaxy's main defense forces. Her red eyes scanned the reports on her desk. "Human military units have stopped all communication too. Their warships are not responding to our signals. This could be preparation for war." But there were no signs of war preparation. Human ships continued their normal routes. Human colonies kept working. Human traders finished their current deals. Everything looked normal except for one thing. Humans would not talk to any non-human species. "Maybe they are planning something big," suggested Ambassador Crix from the Insectoid Collective. His compound eyes reflected the lights of the chamber. "Humans are known for their tricks and strategies. This could be a trap." Chancellor Morden was not sure. In his long life, he had seen many species react to Council decisions. Some fought, some begged, some tried to make deals. But no one had ever just gone quiet like this. It made him feel uncomfortable in a way he could not explain. The days passed slowly. Council meetings continued, but they felt wrong without human voices. Humans had always been active in discussions. They asked questions that made other species think. They suggested solutions that no one else had considered. Without them, the meetings felt empty. "We should send ships to check on them," suggested General Thrak of the warrior clans. His scarred face showed his concern. "If they are planning something, we need to know." "No," said Chancellor Morden firmly. "We will wait. Humans are not stupid. They know we are stronger. They will come back when they are ready to accept our decision." But deep down, Morden was not sure about this. Humans had surprised the galaxy many times before. When they first joined the Council 50 years ago, everyone thought they were just another young species. They were weak and had simple technology. Other species felt sorry for them, but humans learned fast, very fast. In just 50 years, they had become one of the most important species in the galaxy. Their technology improved quickly. Their trade networks grew everywhere. Their military became strong and smart. Now they had colonies in hundreds of star systems. Maybe that was the problem. Maybe humans had grown too strong, too fast. Maybe the Council was right to try to control them. The silence continued. Day after day, the human chairs remained empty. The Council tried to continue normal business, but it was hard. So many galactic issues involved humans in some way. Trade agreements, border disputes, scientific research projects. Humans had their fingers in everything. "We need to make a decision," said Ambassador Zethkri during a private meeting with other leaders. "This situation cannot continue forever. Either we force humans to respond or we accept that they might be gone for good." "Gone for good?" laughed General Thrak. "Where would they go?" "This is the only civilized part of the galaxy. Everything else is empty space or dangerous territory." But Dr. Velthar looked worried. She had been studying the patterns of human expansion over the years. "Humans are different from us," she said quietly. "We look for safe worlds, rich worlds, easy worlds to colonize. But humans, they go everywhere. They settle on worlds we would never touch. Hot worlds, cold worlds, worlds with no air. They make these places work somehow." "What are you saying?" asked Chancellor Morden. "I am saying that maybe humans do not need us as much as we think they do. Maybe they have been preparing for something like this." The room fell quiet as the leaders thought about this possibility. It was true that humans were very independent. They rarely asked for help even when facing big problems. They preferred to solve things themselves. Outside the council chambers, the galaxy continued to turn. Ships moved between stars carrying goods and people, but something felt different. The human presence that had become so normal was now gone. It was like the important piece of music had suddenly stopped playing. In the days that followed, small problems began to appear. A trade route that humans managed was now running late. A research project that human scientists led was stuck without their input. A peace agreement between two angry species needed human mediators who were no longer available. These were small things at first. The council leaders told themselves these problems could be solved easily. Other species could take over human responsibilities. The galaxy had existed long before humans joined it. But as more days passed in silence, an uncomfortable thought began to grow in many minds. What if humans were not just angry? What if they were planning something much bigger than anyone had imagined? The empty chairs in the council chamber seemed to stare back at the assembled leaders, holding secrets that no one could guess. The silence of humanity had become louder than any words they had ever spoken. 2 weeks had passed since humans stopped talking to the galaxy. What started as a strange silence was now becoming a serious problem. The effects were spreading like cracks in glass, reaching every corner of galactic civilization. Trade Administrator Quintal stared at his screens with growing alarm. Red warning lights blinked across the display showing trade route problems throughout the galaxy. His forearms moved quickly as he tried to manage the crisis. But there were too many issues to handle. "The Terran Trade Consortium has stopped all new shipping contracts," he reported to the Emergency Council meeting. His voice shook with worry. "They are finishing their current deliveries, but after that, nothing." Chancellor Morden felt a cold feeling in his stomach. The Terran Trade Consortium was huge. Human ships carried goods to almost every civilized world in the galaxy. Their logistics network was so good that even the oldest species relied on it. "How much of our shipping do humans control?" asked Ambassador Zethkri. Quintal checked his numbers. 47% of all intersystem cargo movement, 63% of long-distance freight, and almost all emergency supply runs to dangerous areas. The numbers hit the room like a physical blow. In just 50 years, humans had become the backbone of galactic trade. No one had realized how dependent they had all become on human efficiency and reliability. "Surely other species can take over," said General Thrak, though he sounded less confident than usual. "We are trying," Quintal replied, "but human ships are faster and cheaper than anyone else's. Without them, shipping costs have already increased by 300%. Some remote colonies might not receive supplies for months. The problems were not just about trade. Dr. Melandra from the Galactic Medical Council brought even worse news. Her healing tentacles curled with stress as she spoke. 30% of our medical supplies come from human pharmaceutical companies," she announced. "They developed synthetic versions of rare medicines that were almost impossible to find before. Without these supplies, we will face serious shortages." "Can't you make the medicines yourselves?" asked Chancellor Morden. Dr. Melandra's skin turned a pale green color, showing her distress. "The humans shared the basic formulas with us, but their manufacturing processes are incredibly complex. They use techniques we do not fully understand. It will take us years to figure out how to make these medicines on our own." Similar reports came from every sector. The Mechanical Union discovered that their most advanced manufacturing techniques had been developed by human engineers. The Agricultural Alliance realized that human scientists had created the crop enhancement systems used on thousands of worlds. The Energy Consortium found that human fusion technology powered 30% of all space stations. But it was Admiral Kesavara who brought the most frightening news of all. "We have a military crisis," she announced, her red eyes glowing with concern. "Human mercenary companies have withdrawn from all active conflicts. 16 ongoing wars have suddenly lost their peacekeeping forces." The council chamber erupted in worried voices. Human military contractors were famous throughout the galaxy for their tactical skills and unusual strategies. They could end wars that had lasted for decades. They could protect trade routes from pirates. They could keep peace between angry species. "What is happening in those conflict zones now?" asked Chancellor Morden, though he feared the answer. "Chaos," Admiral Kesavara replied simply. "The Sector 7 border dispute has exploded into open warfare. The Rim pirates are attacking merchant ships without any opposition. 3 separate colonial rebellions have started because they know human peacekeepers are gone." General Thrak slammed his fist on the table. "This is exactly what I was afraid of. Humans are destabilizing the galaxy on purpose. This is an act of war." But Dr. Velthar shook her head. "No, this is not war. This is withdrawal. Humans are not attacking anyone. They are just leaving." "Leaving to where?" demanded Ambassador Crix. "Space is big, but there are only so many habitable worlds. They cannot just disappear." That question led to another disturbing discovery. Long-range sensors were detecting strange activity in human space. New construction projects were appearing around every human world. Massive industrial complexes, research facilities, and shipyards were being built at incredible speed. "They are building something," reported Chief Engineer Voxrum of the Technological Assembly. His mechanical voice carried a note of amazement. "The construction rate is unlike anything we have ever seen. It is as if they are preparing for something big." "Preparing for what?" asked Chancellor Morden. "We do not know. The construction projects are using materials and techniques that do not match anything in our databases. They are building with a purpose, but we cannot understand what that purpose is." Even more mysterious were the reports from the Outer Rim territories. The same areas that the Council had voted to restrict human access to were now showing signs of human activity. But these were not the kind of colonization efforts anyone expected. Scout Captain Dernick had just returned from a patrol mission in the Outer Rim. His report confused everyone who heard. "They are not taking the good worlds," he said, his mandibles clicking with puzzlement. "Humans are colonizing systems that we marked as worthless. Worlds with poisonous atmospheres, extreme temperatures, and no valuable resources. Why would anyone want to live in such places?" "Maybe they are just desperate for any territory," suggested General Thrak. But Dr. Velthar had a different theory. "What if those worlds are not worthless? What if humans see value that we missed?" This thought scared the Council leaders more than open warfare would have. If humans could make worthless worlds valuable, if they could see opportunities that the older species missed, then what else had the galaxy misunderstood about human capabilities? The evidence was mounting that humanity's silence was not just anger or protest. It was part of a larger plan that had been in motion for much longer than anyone realized. Every trade agreement, every shared technology, every diplomatic gesture. What if it had all been preparation for this moment? "We need to send diplomatic envoys," suggested Ambassador Zethkri. "We must find out what humans want. There has to be a way to negotiate." "Envoys to where?" asked Admiral Kesavara. "Humans are not responding to any communication. Their colonies deny landing permission to all non-human ships. Earth itself has gone completely dark. The Council tried everything they could think of. They sent messages through human allies who were not responding either. They tried to contact human corporations, human universities, human military units. Every attempt met with the same result: polite but firm refusal to communicate. It was as if humans had collectively decided that the rest of the galaxy no longer existed. Days turned into weeks. The galaxy began to adapt to life without human participation, but it was not easy. Shipping delays caused shortages on many worlds. Medical crises developed as medicine supplies ran low. Wars that had been contained for years suddenly spread across multiple star systems. The Council found itself dealing with more crises in 1 month than they normally faced in a year. Without human efficiency, human innovation, and human problem-solving abilities, everything took longer and cost more. "We made a mistake," admitted Ambassador Zethkri during a private meeting with Chancellor Mordun. "We thought we were controlling a junior species. But humans were never junior partners. They were holding this galaxy together, and we did not even notice." Chancellor Mordun stared out at the stars through the chamber's great windows. In his 200 years of leadership, he had never faced a crisis like this. Enemies he could fight, disasters he could manage. But how do you fight against silence? How do you negotiate with people who refuse to talk? The most disturbing realization was yet to come. As reports continued to arrive from across the galaxy, a pattern became clear. Humans had not just randomly integrated themselves into galactic civilization. They had systematically placed themselves in critical positions. They controlled the most important trade routes. They managed the most vital technologies. They maintained peace in the most dangerous regions. And now they were gone. The galaxy was learning what it meant to lose humanity, and the lesson was more painful than anyone had imagined. 6 weeks had passed since humanity went silent, and the Galaxy Council was becoming desperate. Chancellor Mordun authorized something that had never been done before: a massive intelligence operation to spy on human space. Every available sensor, every spy network, every secret observation post was directed toward finding out what humans were planning. The results were more disturbing than anyone had expected: intelligence. Director Kixvin called an emergency meeting of the Inner Council. His species rarely showed emotion, but his gray skin had taken on a worried blue tint. The data crystals in his hands contained information that would change everything. "We have been watching human territory for 5 weeks, he began, his voice carefully controlled. "What we have discovered challenges everything we thought we knew about human capabilities." The lights dimmed as holographic displays filled the chamber. Images of human space appeared in 3 dimensions, showing dozens of star systems and hundreds of worlds. But something was wrong with the picture. "These are current scans of human territory," Kixvin explained. "Compare them to our records from 6 months ago." The display split to show before and after images. The difference was shocking. Every human world now had massive new structures in orbit. Shipyards that dwarfed anything in the galaxy, research stations larger than most space cities, industrial complexes that stretched across entire asteroid belts. "This is impossible," whispered Dr. Velthar. "Construction on this scale would take decades. We should have noticed it happening." "That is the problem," Kixvin replied grimly. "We were not seeing it because humans were hiding it from us. These structures were built using advanced stealth technology. They were there all along, but invisible to our sensors." Admiral Kesavara leaned forward, her military mind analyzing the implications. "How long have they been building in secret?" "Based on the size and complexity of these installations, we estimate at least 20 years. Possibly longer." The chamber fell silent as the leaders absorbed this information. For 20 years, while humans appeared to be junior partners in galactic civilization, they had been secretly building an industrial empire that surpassed anything the galaxy had ever seen. "There is more," Kixvin continued. "These are images from the Outer Rim territories." New displays showed the regions where the Council had banned human expansion. But humans were there anyway, not just small colonies or research outposts, but massive settlements built into asteroids, artificial worlds constructed in empty space, and mining operations that had completely transformed entire solar systems. "They ignored our expansion ban," said General Thrak angrily. "They have been colonizing restricted territory for years." But Dr. Velthar was studying the images more carefully. "Look at which systems they chose," she said with growing amazement. "These are not random selections. Every single system has strategic value that we completely missed." She was right. Humans had not taken the obvious worlds with good climates and easy resources. Instead, they had claimed systems with rare mineral deposits hidden deep underground. They had built bases at gravitational nexus points that could serve as launching platforms to reach any part of the galaxy. They had established outposts in seemingly empty regions that were actually perfect for deep space research. "They were thinking on a completely different scale than us," Dr. Velthar continued. "While we were arguing about individual planets, they were planning for galactic expansion." Intelligence Director Kixvin activated another set of displays. "This is perhaps the most concerning discovery." Human ships. The images showed spacecraft that looked nothing like the vessels humans had been using in public. These ships were sleek, advanced, and clearly built with technology far beyond what humans had ever demonstrated. They moved without visible engines, leaving no energy signatures that galactic sensors could detect. Where did they get this technology? Demanded Chancellor Morden. We believe they developed it themselves, Kixvin answered. Our analysis suggests that every piece of technology humans shared with the galaxy was actually several generations behind their real capabilities. They have been deliberately showing us inferior versions of their inventions. The implications hit the Council like a gravity bomb. For 50 years, humans had been sharing technology that the galaxy thought was impressive. Medical advances, manufacturing techniques, computer systems. All of it had been deliberately limited to hide humans' true abilities. They were studying us, Admiral Kesavara said with sudden understanding. Every trade agreement, every joint research project, every diplomatic meeting, they were gathering intelligence on every species in the galaxy. Correct, confirmed Kixvin. Our communications analysis shows that humans have detailed files on the military capabilities, economic systems, political structures, and technological weaknesses of every major species. They know more about us than we know about ourselves. Ambassador Zethkri felt sick to his stomach. We thought we were the advanced civilizations teaching a young species how the galaxy worked. But they were the ones studying us like laboratory specimens. The revelations continued to pour in. Human colonies were not just self-sufficient, they were completely independent of galactic infrastructure. They had their own communication networks, their own resource chains, their own transportation systems, everything they needed to survive and grow without any outside help. How did we miss all of this? Asked Chancellor Morden, though he was beginning to understand the answer. Dr. Velthar had been analyzing human behavior patterns for years, and now everything made sense. Humans are masters of misdirection, she explained. They made us focus on what they wanted us to see while hiding their real activities. Every time we thought we understood their limitations, those limitations were just illusions. The most disturbing discovery came from deep space sensors. Human ships were moving through regions of space that should have been empty, following routes that did not appear on any galactic charts. They seemed to have found paths between star systems that no other species knew existed. They have been mapping the galaxy independently, reported Chief Navigator Dulman of the Stellar Cartography Guild. These routes they are using, some of them are hyperspace corridors that we never discovered. Others appear to be entirely new forms of faster-than-light travel. The evidence painted a picture that terrified the Council. Humanity had spent 50 years pretending to be a developing species, while secretly building capabilities that exceeded the combined power of the rest of the galaxy. They had mapped territory, developed technology, and created infrastructure that made them completely independent. And now they were gone. We need to contact them, insisted Ambassador Zethkri. There must be a way to communicate. We need to explain that we made a mistake. Explain what? Asked Admiral Kesavara bitterly. That we tried to control them because we were afraid of their potential? That we voted to restrict their expansion because they were becoming too successful? They already know exactly what we did and why we did it. Intelligence Director Kixvin had one more piece of information to share. There is something else. 3 days ago, our deep space sensors detected a massive energy signature at coordinates that should have been empty space. When we investigated, we found this. The holographic display showed something that should not have existed. A space station the size of a small moon, sitting in the void between star systems. It was clearly human in design, but built with technology that seemed decades ahead of anything in the galactic database. Where did it come from? Asked Chancellor Morden. Unknown. It simply appeared. Our sensors show no construction activity, no ship movements, no energy readings that would indicate how it got there. It is as if humans have learned to build massive structures. Instantly, the station was not just large, it was strategically positioned at a point where it could monitor traffic from a dozen different star systems. It was clearly designed for observation and possibly control of a vast region of space. They are watching us, realized General Thrak. This is an observation post. They are studying our reaction to their withdrawal. The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. Humans had not just left galactic civilization. They had positioned themselves to observe and potentially control it from outside. They had become the watchers instead of the watched. Dr. Velthar spoke the thought that everyone was afraid to voice. What if this was always their plan? What if joining the Galaxy Council was never about becoming part of our civilization, What if it was always about learning everything they needed to know before leaving? The evidence suggested that she was right. Humans had played a 50-year game of intelligence gathering while building the infrastructure needed for complete independence. They had studied every species, mapped every weakness, and positioned themselves to survive and thrive without any galactic support, and the most frightening part was that they had done it, all while appearing to be grateful junior partners in galactic civilization. The Galaxy Council was beginning to understand that they had not just lost a member species. They had lost the most advanced, most capable, and most dangerous species in the galaxy, a species that now knew all their secrets and had capabilities beyond imagination. The empty chairs in the council chamber no longer represented absence. They represented the presence of Watcher. 3 months had passed since humanity's great silence began, and the galaxy was learning to live with constant uncertainty. Then everything changed in a single moment that would be remembered forever. It started with what should have been a routine council session. Chancellor Morden was discussing trade route security when every communication device in the chamber began receiving the same signal simultaneously. Not just the official council frequencies, but personal communicators, security networks, even the coffee machines. Everything that could receive a transmission was suddenly carrying the same message. "Greetings, Galaxy Council," said a familiar voice. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen speaking on behalf of humanity." The chamber erupted in chaos. Admiral Chen had been humanity's ambassador before the silence began. Her calm, professional voice was exactly the same as it had been months ago, but something was different. There was a confidence in her tone that had not been there before. "Please remain calm and listen carefully," Admiral Chen continued. "We have an important announcement to make." Chancellor Morden frantically gestured for the communication technicians to trace the signal source. Where was this transmission coming from? How had humans bypassed all of the Council's security systems? The answer appeared on the main viewing screen as external sensors automatically focused on the source of the transmission. There, hanging in space directly above the Council's capital world, was a fleet of human ships. But these were not the ships the galaxy knew. They were sleek, elegant vessels that seemed to bend light around them. They had appeared without any warning, without triggering any sensors, without any sign of how they had traveled through heavily defended space. "Do not be alarmed by our presence," Admiral Chen's voice continued. "We are not here to threaten anyone. We are here to make an announcement and demonstrate a few important points." Dr. Veltar stared at the ships with her expert eyes, trying to understand what she was seeing. The vessels seemed to exist in a slight shimmer, as if they were not entirely in normal space. The technology required for such an effect was beyond anything in the galactic database. "How many ships?" whispered Admiral Kesavara to her tactical officers. "Unknown," came the nervous reply. "Our sensors can detect 12 vessels clearly, but there are distortion readings that suggest many more. Possibly hundreds." Admiral Chen's transmission continued with the same calm professionalism that had marked all her previous diplomatic work. 3 months ago, the Galaxy Council voted to restrict human expansion and treat us as a junior species requiring guidance. We accepted this decision without argument and withdrew from all galactic affairs to consider our response. The ships remained perfectly still above the planet, but their mere presence sent waves of fear through the council chambers. These vessels could have destroyed the capital world in minutes, yet they had appeared peacefully and announced themselves politely. "Our consideration period is now complete," Admiral Chen announced. "We have reached several important conclusions that we wish to share with you." New images began appearing on every screen in the chamber. Maps of the galaxy showing human territory, but not as the Council had ever seen it before. The true extent of human expansion was revealed for the first time. A vast network of colonies, stations, and installations that stretched across thousands of star systems. "First conclusion," Admiral Chen said as the images continued to change. "The restriction of human expansion was unnecessary. We have been expanding for decades into regions you declared off limits. We now control approximately 30% of all star systems in this galaxy." The numbers hit the Council like a physical blow. 30%. Humans controlled almost a third of the galaxy, and the Council had never noticed. Second conclusion, the transmission continued. "The galaxy's political and economic systems are more fragile than we initially calculated. Our withdrawal from galactic affairs has caused significant disruption. Trade networks have collapsed. Wars have resumed. Medical shortages have developed. This was not our intention, but it has been educational. Admiral Kesavera was frantically trying to understand the military implications of what she was seeing. The human fleet above them represented technology that made the galaxy's combined military forces obsolete. But more frightening was the realization that this fleet had appeared from nowhere. How many other human fleets existed? Where were they positioned? Third conclusion. Admiral Chen's voice remained perfectly calm as she delivered news that would reshape the galaxy. Human civilization no longer requires participation in galactic society. We have achieved complete self-sufficiency in all areas: technology, resources, defense, and expansion. We are now capable of independent development, without any external support. The images on the screen showed the true scope of human achievement: space stations that dwarfed anything the galaxy had ever built, industrial complexes that could produce fleets of advanced ships, research facilities that were clearly working on technology beyond galactic understanding. Chancellor Morden found his voice at last. Admiral Chen, surely we can discuss this situation. The Council is willing to reconsider our previous decision. We can negotiate a better arrangement. There was a pause before Admiral Chen responded, and when she did, there was something that might have been gentle amusement in her voice. Chancellor Morden, there is nothing to negotiate. We are not angry with the Council's decision. We understand why you voted as you did. Fear of the unknown is a natural response. Then what do you want? Demanded General Thrak, his warrior instincts struggling to process a situation where threats and force seemed meaningless. We want to demonstrate something important, Admiral Chen replied. Watch your sensors carefully. The human fleet above the capital world simply vanished. Not flew away, not cloaked, not destroyed, vanished. One moment there were ships hanging in space, the next moment there was empty sky. No energy signatures, no temporal distortions, no trace that they had ever been there, and then they reappeared instantly near the Council's second-largest world, hundreds of light-years away. The same fleet in the same formation, as if distance meant nothing to them. Instantaneous travel, whispered Chief Engineer Voxram, his mechanical voice filled with awe. They have mastered space and time itself. The demonstration continued. The fleet appeared at strategic locations throughout the galaxy: military bases, trade centers, research stations. Each appearance lasted only moments, just long enough to be detected and recorded. The message was clear: humans could go anywhere in the galaxy instantly, and there was no way to stop them. This brings us to our fourth and final conclusion, Admiral Chen announced as the fleet returned to hover above the capital world. The galaxy is safer with human participation than without it. Our withdrawal has caused instability. Our return to isolation would cause more problems. Hope flickered in the council chambers. Perhaps humans were offering to return, to resume their role in galactic civilization. Therefore, Admiral Chen continued, humanity is formally announcing our graduation from galactic society. We thank you for 50 years of education, but we are now ready to operate independently. Consider this our graduation ceremony. The hope died as quickly as it had appeared. Humans were not returning to the galaxy. They were leaving it permanently. What about our trade agreements? Asked Trade Administrator Quintal desperately. Our joint research projects? Our mutual defense treaties? All human obligations under galactic law will be fulfilled completely, Admiral Chen assured him. Existing contracts will be honored. Current trade agreements will be completed. We will cause no harm to any species or civilization, but there will be no new agreements, no new partnerships, no new diplomatic relations. Dr. Velthar had to ask the question that terrified everyone. Are you abandoning this galaxy entirely? No, Admiral Chen replied, and there was something profound in that simple word. We are not abandoning anything. We are simply changing our relationship with galactic civilization. Think of it as moving out of our parents' house. We are grateful for everything you taught us, but we are ready to live independently now. The implications were staggering. Humans were not just leaving the Galaxy Council. They were declaring themselves a separate civilization entirely. They would share the same space but operate under completely different rules. You will still see human ships and human settlements, Admiral Chen explained. We will not interfere with galactic affairs unless directly threatened. We will not attack or invade or conquer. We will simply coexist. But we will do so as equals, not as members of your political system. Chancellor Morden felt the weight of history pressing down on him. In his centuries of leadership, he had never faced anything like this. A species had grown beyond the need for galactic civilization and was politely but firmly declaring independence. "This is our formal notice of withdrawal," Admiral Chen concluded. "We thank the Galaxy Council for 50 years of friendship and education. We wish you prosperity and peace. But from this day forward, humanity will chart its own course among the stars." The transmission ended and the human fleet began to fade from view, not vanishing this time but gradually becoming Trazu. The weeks following humanity's formal withdrawal were perhaps the most challenging in galactic history. The Council faced a reality they had never imagined, sharing the galaxy with a civilization that was more advanced than anything they had ever encountered, yet completely independent of their authority. The first sign of the new reality came when human ships began appearing throughout the galaxy again. But these were not the familiar vessels that had participated in galactic civilization for 50 years. These were the advanced ships that had demonstrated instantaneous travel and reality-bending technology. They appeared without warning and left without explanation. A human research vessel would materialize near a dying star to conduct unknown experiments, then vanish when curious galactic scientists approached. Human cargo ships would deliver supplies to remote colonies that were facing starvation, then disappear before anyone could offer payment or ask questions. "They are helping us," reported Dr. Melandra, after a human medical ship had delivered rare medicines to a plague-stricken world. "But they will not communicate. They arrive, provide aid, and leave immediately." It was baffling behavior that confused every expert in the galaxy. Humans were clearly monitoring galactic affairs and intervening when necessary, but they refused all attempts at communication or cooperation. Chancellor Morden called emergency session after emergency session, but there was little the Council could do. How do you negotiate with people who will not talk? How do you regulate a species that can appear and disappear at will? "We need to accept the new reality," advised Dr. Velthar during one particularly tense meeting. "Humans are no longer part of our civilization. They are something else now. Something beyond our understanding or control." The truth of this statement became clear when the Council attempted to establish formal contact with human leadership. They sent diplomatic ships to Earth, only to find that the planet was surrounded by a barrier of some kind. Ships could approach to a certain distance but then simply could not move any closer. It was not a force field or energy barrier. It was as if space itself refused to allow non-human ships to reach Earth. Similar barriers appeared around all major human worlds. Not hostile barriers that destroyed approaching ships, but passive ones that simply made approach impossible. It was a form of isolation that went beyond anything in galactic science. "They have made themselves untouchable," reported Admiral Kesavara after her own failed attempt to reach a human colony. "Whatever technology they are using, it makes their worlds completely inaccessible to us." But the most unsettling development was the discovery of new human colonies in places that should have been impossible to reach. Deep space sensors detected human settlements in regions that required passage through black holes, neutron star clusters, and cosmic phenomena that no known technology could survive. "They are not just exploring our galaxy anymore," Chief Navigator Dulmon reported with awe in his voice. "Long-range sensors suggest they are building installations in other galaxies entirely. They are expanding beyond our local cluster." The implications were staggering. While galactic civilizations struggled to maintain stability within a single galaxy, humans were apparently colonizing the entire universe. They had achieved a level of technological advancement that made them effectively gods compared to every other species. Yet they continued to intervene quietly in galactic affairs when crises developed. A border war between two ancient enemies would suddenly end when human negotiators appeared briefly to broker peace. A collapsing star that threatened to destroy inhabited systems would be mysteriously stabilized by unknown technology. Pirate fleets that had terrorized trade routes would simply disappear, leaving behind only confused reports of ships that folded space and time. "They are protecting us," realized Ambassador Zethkri during one council session. "Even though they have withdrawn from our civilization, they are still watching over us like parents protecting children." The comparison was uncomfortable but accurate. Humanity's relationship with the galaxy had fundamentally changed from partners to guardians. They no longer participated in galactic society. but they prevented it from destroying itself. This became most obvious during the Great Crisis that developed 6 months after humanity's withdrawal. A cascade of political failures led to the collapse of the galactic economy. Wars erupted across multiple sectors. Disease outbreaks spread without proper medical coordination. It seemed as if galactic civilization itself might fall apart. That was when humans revealed the true extent of their capabilities. Ships appeared simultaneously at every major crisis point in the galaxy. Not dozens of ships, not hundreds, but thousands. More human vessels than had ever been seen before, all equipped with technology that seemed to rewrite the laws of physics. The wars ended in hours as human ships created impassable barriers between opposing fleets. The economic collapse was halted when human AI systems took over galactic financial networks and stabilized them instantly. Disease outbreaks were stopped by medical technology that could cure any illness in minutes. "How many ships do they have?" whispered General Thrak as he watched reports flood in from across the galaxy. "Unknown," replied Admiral Kesavara. "But based on these reports, they could have mobilized more vessels in a single day than our entire galaxy contains. And that is probably just a small fraction of their true fleet." The intervention lasted exactly 24 hours. Human ships provided aid, established peace, restored stability, and then vanished as quickly as they had appeared. But they left behind a clear message projected on every communication screen in the galaxy. It was Admiral Sarah Chen again, speaking from what appeared to be the bridge of a ship beyond anything in galactic imagination. Behind her, stars were visible through transparent walls, but they were moving in patterns that defied all understanding of space and time. "People of the galaxy," she said with the same calm professionalism that had marked her diplomatic career, "we hope this demonstration has clarified the current situation. Humanity has evolved beyond the need for galactic civilization, but we have not forgotten our origins or abandoned our friends." The image shifted to show views of the galaxy from impossible perspectives, as if the camera was seeing from outside space and time itself. Human installations were visible everywhere, but most of them existed in dimensions that normal sensors could not detect. "You have nothing to fear from humanity," Admiral Chen continued. "We will not conquer. We will not rule. We will not interfere in your normal development. But neither will we allow galactic civilization to destroy itself through war, disease, or economic collapse." The final images showed the true scope of human expansion. Colonies in other galaxies, structures built around entire star systems, installations that spanned multiple dimensions. Humanity had not just achieved independence from the galaxy, they had transcended it entirely. "Consider us the safety net," Admiral Chen concluded. "Live your lives, build your civilizations, explore and grow and learn. But know that if you face existential threats beyond your ability to handle, we will be watching. We will intervene if necessary, not because you belong to us, but because we once belonged to you." The transmission ended with a final message that appeared as text on every screen. "Thank you for teaching us to reach for the stars. Now watch us light them." In the days that followed, galactic civilization slowly adapted to its new reality. The Council continued to govern, but with the knowledge that they were being watched by forces beyond their comprehension. Trade resumed, but with occasional mysterious assistance that made impossible deliveries possible. Wars still occurred, but they never lasted long enough to threaten galactic stability. Humanity had become the silent guardians of the galaxy, protecting their former civilization from dangers it could not handle, while allowing it to develop independently. They had achieved what every parent hopes for their children, the ability to stand on their own while knowing help is always available if needed. Dr. Velthar summed up the situation in her final report to the Council. "We thought we were dealing with a rebellious junior species. Instead, we were privileged to witness the birth of something greater than ourselves. Humanity has not abandoned us. They have grown beyond us. And perhaps that is exactly what we should have hoped for all along." The empty chairs in the council chamber remained empty, but they no longer represented absence. They represented presence of a different kind, the watchful care of a species that had learned everything the galaxy could teach them and had used that knowledge to become something magnificent and incomprehensible. The Galaxy Council no longer trembled with fear. They trembled with awe at what they had helped create, and with gratitude that humanity remembered where they came from, even as they reached for heights that no other species could imagine. The age of human membership was over. The age of human guardianship had begun, and the galaxy was safer than it had ever been, protected by children who had grown up to become gods among the stars.